Hey, what's up guys? Michael from Karate Breakdown, trying to bring back practical karate. Stuck in traffic after work, so let's make a video. So I did some real light sparring. In this clip we were actually doing like some light contact, boxing only sparring with 16-ounce gloves. And it got me thinking, I hear a lot about karate not having head movements, and I'm gonna play both sides today. If you look at traditional karate katas, people are very stiff and upright. I'll cut to some examples of katas where your head goes off the center line. And I've always been in the camp that if you see it in kata once, you can turn that into a concept or a principle where you could apply it everywhere else. And I was actually having a conversation with somebody on Instagram about this, I think Brandon, that back in the day, a kata used to be its own system, and we're kind of seeing the remnants of whatever that system used to be. Like Shinto kata, the story goes, he was a shipwrecked sailor on an island, and he was like living in a cave, and he had this, and we have a kata called Shinto in his honor, and it was the techniques that he showed. Well, Shinto is now in most styles like one of like 20 different katas that you learn, where in fact the history of it was just this one guy's techniques, right? So we're like 100 years away from that. But if you take that idea that one kata could be its own system, and you drill it down even more, then one principle in a kata can become an overarching principle in all of karate. And therefore, since there are movements in katas that have head movements, then karate should have head movement as well. So that's one way to think about it. And I'm laughing just because it's such an easy cop-out answer to be like, oh yeah, karate has head movement, just look at this. The only issue is not a lot of karate schools train that. And I'm looking at like traditional Okinawan karate and also more modern Japanese karate like Kyokushin, where they even just take out head strikes completely, right? And the idea is like, if I go back to traditional Okinawan karate for self-defense, head movement happens when it's an exchange between two people, right? You're combatively sparring, it's a combative sport. You think about boxing, you're dodging strikes, you are receiving strikes and throwing your own strikes out there back and forth. There's time limits, it's a round, there's a ref, but it's very different than the idea of like war combat, where when you decide to go in, you cannot stop. You cannot give them a chance to retaliate, and it's not an exchange, it's not a conversation going back and forth like a sparring match. I'm gonna stay as far away as possible, or I'm gonna ambush somebody, or somebody ambushes me, and I'm gonna become a violent force until that threat is neutralized, until it's done. So you're going for like a 5-10 second sprint of just pure violence into your opponents. Either they prompted it or you're prompting it, but there's no time or there's no need for head movement when you're thinking about it that way. You are a spear that goes through. I'm thinking about this series that came out years ago called Kung Fu Quest. One of my favorite episodes from that was when they visited a Shaolin monastery, and they showed sparring at the end, and it was like a monk versus a stereotypical modern martial artist. There's some tomfoolery there because it is a Chinese TV show showing Chinese history, and therefore they can't really show real combat. But at that pace, you could see that the MMA guy was kind of flustered because the monk is just like powering through, not super technical, just vicious, right? I mean, you think about like, I don't know, like a pit bull or a chihuahua, where they'll just go forward. But in most cases, when you're in fight or flight and you decide to commit to the confrontation, you just have to go forward and survive or attack until it's over. And that's probably the main reason why karate doesn't have your modern looking stereotypical head movement where you are dodging and being able to read your opponent's arm length and see their distance, engage distance. There's no time for that when it's like a 10-second sprint to life or death. Again, both answers are kind of cop-out answers, right? It's like, can I train for real combat without having some type of head movement today? Yeah, probably. Or will it be detrimental to me to learn some head movement? No, I don't think it would be detrimental. It might create some bad habits, maybe, if you're thinking about just exchanging with somebody. But there's head movements in self-defense too, and head movements in just general coordination drills. Because even if you shell up, your head's attached to your arm and you have to move your body as one unit. And in that case, some type of head movement makes sense. So what are your thoughts? Is there head movement in karate? Am I completely wrong? I don't really care. I'm just talking. I'm driving in traffic now. Yeah, leave a comment below and let me know your thoughts. Let's have a discussion.